Sustainability and the National University of Singapore Business School, where he is the professor in practice and of strategy and policy. He received his PhD at MIT in strategy and policy already, and also in finance and economics. Now, at the Center for Governance and Sustainability, he leads the key sustainability and governance initiatives for the Asia Pacific regions. That's why Karen supports these studies. So, Professor Low, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Sung. Well, I'll be making a very short presentation, 15 minutes. I have quite a number of slides. Professor Sung, feel free to cut me off if I overshoot the time. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lawrence and I come from the National University of Singapore. I lead this project which I'm going to launch on behalf of my team, which is also here. I must first of all acknowledge Professor Patrick Low, the project advisor, and also sitting on my board, and also my team who is there. So basically I'm just a messenger. Feel free to shoot me down. I think, no, my study and you know what we have done is about nature. Maybe I'd like to start. In your mind, what do you think about nature when the word is being mentioned? I mean, we say that companies, businesses need to actually interact and pay attention to nature. Is it all about, you know, nature that we have in Singapore? I think many of you probably live in Singapore. What exactly come into your mind first and foremost? Is it about the otters running around the road? Or is it about the wild chickens? I think it's not. Nature is something very real to all of us, businesses, individuals. For example, let me ask you this. What is the first thing you come into contact with and the last thing you come into contact with at night? In the morning first and at night last. Beside your mobile phone, what is the first significant commodity? Anyone? What do you do? Toothpaste. Yes, toothpaste. You know, this is your interaction with nature. Where does toothpaste come from? Toothpaste will come from, for example, one of the main ingredients is palm oil. You will interact with nature in a very indirect way that some of us may not even realize it. All of us use toothpaste, and I will illustrate as part of my study. I'll come back to it. There are very two important concepts in our nexus with nature. One is the dependency, two is impact. Dependency means whatever you do, businesses do, will rely on, for example, resources and assets. Resources such as water, wood, or the other one is the impact. What you do will impact, for example, habitats, ecosystem, forests, for example. So this is something very real, and let me just immediately launch into this, getting the preamble so that all of us are on the same page. Next, yes, the clicker is not working, and I think very, very fast, the World Economic Forum, just a study that was released days ago in 2024, stated that, you know, now, in 2 years' time, some of the key risks is, for example, misinformation and disinformation. And extreme weather is just number 2. But 10 years from now, if you can read the slides, no, extreme weather, change to Earth system, biodiversity loss, natural resources shortage. You can see the top 4 now are on nature. By the way, the entire deck that you get today, including the annex, will be made available to all of us you'll be posted on the web. So not to worry if you want to see many details, because in every slide I will just highlight one finding next. So these are the top rays, and even as close as many of us in Singapore, nature in city, or city in nature, which is what the plan call it, is the #1 pillar that's first principally put up. Yeah, so this is something very critical to Singapore as a country, interacting with the world as well as interacting with natural system next. Yes, and I think this is something that we have seen in the media. Everybody is talking about nature, but it seems that nobody seems to be doing anything about it. But more importantly, we don't know even what to do about it. You know, what do businesses, what do countries, what do companies, what do governments have to do with nature? Not just about what you see in the zoo. For example, you know, I ask some company, what have you done about nature? They say, yes, we adopted a giraffe in the zoo. So, so it's much more than that. I'm going to highlight a study next that we have done, and I think this is something I'd like to illustrate first on two very important concepts. When we talk about corporate and business action, two important words I'll say again: dependency and impact. For example, in the automotive industry, not just a regular business, you can see dependency will be on water, wood, land. Impact will be on, for example, the ecosystem, the water ecosystem, the life forms that exist above water on land. So it's something very, very real next. Okay, and our research framework, I will come more to about that later on, is rooted on international standards. And in the annex of our deck, we give some details, but basically these are all the latest standards that we frame our study on. For example, GRI or IUCN, very interestingly, this was founded in France, Fontainebleau. NGFS, Network for Greening of Financial System, headquarters is also in France, Paris. I don't know, French is so powerful in nature. Okay, and of course, a very, very important one, our study is rooted on, I would say, the gold standard now. TNFD, just released last year in September. Okay, there are many things inside there. If you really want to find out, you can actually download. There's even a very simple package called TNFD in the box if you want to see how businesses, communities can take care of nature. There's a set of prescribed requirements which is now emerging. Okay, next. So this is our study which was just completed, and I'm going to take this opportunity in the next 10 minutes to say something because even as I'm launching it, we are actually talking to the media. So it's already out in some media, but the major mainstream media will be talking to me in the next few days to highlight the important study. So what we have done is 14 markets, we call it jurisdiction, across Asia Pacific, principally East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Australasia, selected countries, selected markets being involved in our study, and we studied the leading companies, the 50 largest leading to 700 companies in 11 industries. So these are all listed companies, the stock exchanges are listed there, and we will be compiling a full report soon, but the full deck, which is self-contained, will be available. Next, yep. Okay, so this is our research framework. As you can see, very, very importantly, we need to identify the issues. We need to stipulate to decide whether it is material. Material meaning whether it is core, whether it is critical to your organization, your business, to your area of operation. So something that is central to what you do. And then after that, we root it on what we call frameworks. And in particular, we chose, I would say, the de facto or emerging framework that's guiding businesses TNFD, Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosure. Notice the word, there's a finance involved. It will not be, it will take too much time for me to go into the details, but I will just maybe highlight some findings next. Yes, just the 3 top line findings before I go drill deep very fast into some illustrative findings. What we found are just 3 main ticket items. Number 1, nature disclosure, nature action by businesses is still in the very infantile stage. It is still emerging particularly is very important, particularly say compared to climate action. Everybody is talking about climate, but very few companies, businesses talking about nature. In fact, actually, climate is just a means. It's not an end in itself. Why are we worried about climate? It's not about the climate itself. It's about nature. We have to preserve, we have to conserve life forms. So climate is only half the story. We need nature to complete the story. If there's no nature, the climate can change all at once. It doesn't matter to any one of us at all. Once upon a time we had 10 suns. Somebody shot down 9. Remember the Chinese folklore? Yeah. Okay, anyway, even if we shoot down the 10th sun, if there's no life form, it doesn't matter to us. Okay, second is we need framework to guide us, and our finding shows that I think tapping on framework, particularly TNFD, will help to guide the action plan, the strategies of business. And third, money talks. So we need a certain enabler lubricant. What we found out is in terms of financial flow, in terms of capital injection, this is something quite lacking, and without finance coming in, we will all still be talking. Nobody will be incentivized to do anything next. Okay, some illustrative finding. Next slide, please. Okay, you can see the top line is number 1, identification. Let us look at some of the jurisdiction. Can you see my pointer? I think this is my team pointer. Not that don't worry. No, don't worry. Professor has a bigger weapon. This is my secret weapon, okay? So you can see there's a variation. Very interestingly, top 5 jurisdiction, Hong Kong, Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, and Taiwan, they are doing very well. Interestingly, our homeland, Singapore, still not quite there, but okay, we are still quite close. Next, so let's go down to materiality now. And now that you have identified, see whether it's important. You can see the bars are even lower. You look at the orange part, it is generally lower than identification. So at least why I say it is nascent is because companies are aware, but it is still not deemed as important. Okay, next. Okay, now if you want to see in terms of the priority, you can see the purple denotes climate. The yellow part denotes nature. Back to my first finding, nature is something still quite nascent compared to climate. At this climate, at least we are very happy that businesses are taking action to mitigate or even to help in the adaptation to climate change. In nature, it is still, many businesses are still taking baby steps, but at least we are taking some steps. But for example, usually the attention to nature compared to climate, it could be half. For example, if you look at New Zealand, look at South Korea, nature is far below. Singapore is about half. So we hope that going forward, the two can converge so that we complete the two sides of the coin next. Okay, this is another finding we have. Why I say nature is nascent compared to climate. This is mapping to some corporate disclosure standards. You can see, for example, For example, SDG. I think many of you are familiar with SDG, Sustainable Development Goal by the UN, UNDP. Yeah, okay. You can see climate. It is very dense. You look at, say, nature. It is totally shallow. I can go on. If you look at, say, TCFD versus TNFD, these are two twin standards by different organizations, but using the same conceptual framework. The climate is much more mature than the nature. So this shows up in the study next. Okay, then some framework. This is the very initial analysis of TNFD. It's still very, very nascent. In some jurisdiction, it's still non-existent as yet. Okay, next. Okay, just one area of focus. If you look at nature impact, particularly say dependency and impact, I would say that at least many companies are still at the stage of raw materials. Only certain industry like consumer industry look at things as big as deforestation. Many of them actually don't look beyond what affect them most with this their supply chain. Okay, next. Yeah, so in terms of the alignment, what we found is very few jurisdictions look at even specific location in their analysis when we talk about nature impact. For example, specific example maybe if you say two-page example again, what is your specific location of your impact and dependency? If it's palm oil, probably is say Indonesia. For example, the province of Kalimantan and Borneo Island. So many of the companies actually need to drill down to where is the specific geographic location for their natural attention. Okay, next. Very fast. For next slide, please. Okay, good. Long-term, short-term. Usually this is U-shape. You can see many jurisdictions U-shape. Everybody likes to talk about long-term. Short-term is required by some jurisdictions. So usually we get U-shape. Okay, next. I think my time is also coming up. Next, please. Okay, I want to highlight. Okay, stop here. This is a very important slide. The most important slide. Okay, I want to give 3 case examples of best practices of companies. And I say that the best example come from Southeast Asia. I have an East Asia and also Australasia example. I think the best example come from City Development Limited. And at this juncture, I also highlight, I'm very, very happy that Ms. Esther Ang is here, Chief Sustainability Officer of City Development. Esther is going to be also one of the speakers later. You have not seen the slide before, so this is a surprise for you. So any questions about what they do, zero in on impact, ask the speaker later on. Okay, but I'd like to highlight one thing that really stirred my admiration is this thing called impact assessment. And in fact, this is in line with what they actually do, zeroing in nature and the impact. Impact is very important. So please ask Esther later on, hear from the horse's mouth, zeroing in on nature. 2 other examples, East Asia, Mitsubishi, very, very established conglomerate, multinational global. One of their key things is identifying the dependency and the impact using technological platform. Very, very good. The last example, down south, next, Qantas Group, Qantas Airline, a leading airline, and their claim to fame, which I really like, is their focus on conservation. Even though they are just an air carrier, they actually took pain to help to preserve or conserve nature, such as the Great Barrier Reef. Yes, they partner with the foundation to look after the coral reef, and coral reef is not plant, basically it's animals. Yeah, okay. So that's about all. My concluding slide is just a series of action, from big things to small things. Corporates, business must do governance, policy, all the way down to targets and the tools. So it's just a ladder of important things business can do. So with that, let me end. So I hope when you brush your teeth with toothpaste in the morning and at night, think nature. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Low. I wish you a very successful studies. May I wish that by 3 years after, when you publish your studies, maybe 2 years later, so 5 years up to now, the nature will become the first indicator for the corporations. Thank you very much.